loves, it is time for Science Today. And we are going to be talking about food webs and different changes that go on in an ecosystem. So first, we're going to read a few pages of our science book, which you're like, what? We have science books? Yes, we do. We use them sometimes. And we are going to go over a couple pages today. So let's talk about food webs. So a food chain is how energy moves from one living thing to another. But like you guys knew this, living things can also eat more than one kind of food. So how can we show these different feeding relationships? So think about this. Lobsters, they eat clams. But guess what? They also eat crabs and they eat sea stars and they eat mussels. And other animals like the shark and the octopus, they eat the lobster. We can use a model to show all of these relationships, and that is what a food web is. It shows the relationships among different food chains, and it uses arrows to show who eats what. So you guys don't just eat chicken every day, all day long for every single meal. You eat chicken, you might eat some Oreos, you might eat some sausage in the morning or bacon and eggs. And then in the evening, you might have, meatloaf or spaghetti. And then for lunch, you might have something different. So just like you guys, living organisms and animals that are living organisms, they eat different things. And we have to model that using food webs. So these are green plankton. They're producers and they're eaten by clams, they're eaten by small fish, whales, and other organisms. So let's look at this. It's in a desert food chain. And it shows, and it's all kind of messed up on here, but when you are doing food chains and food webs, your food chains and food webs have to make sense. So let me just give you an example. I was in a classroom the other day and I was teaching them, and we were talking about food chains in the prehistoric times, so with dinosaurs. And they said, well, the T-Rex could eat a cow. Well, a cow wasn't alive in prehistoric times. So a T-Rex couldn't have eaten a cow. The T-Rex has to eat something else that was during that time period. Or let's say we're in the desert and you say, oh, okay, well, in the desert, the lion ate the dolphin. A lion and a dolphin is not going to be in the same place at the same time. That would not make sense. So your food chains and your food webs have to make sense according to where you are. So if you really want to have a dinosaur food chain, every single thing in that food chain has to be about dinosaurs. Or if you want to have a food chain that is in the desert, or you want a food chain that's in the forest, all of the animals actually have to be in the forest or in the desert. You can't just pick and choose and say a cow is going to get eaten by a mountain lion. Cows and mountain lions are not in the same place at the same time. So let's take a look at the difference between a food chain and a food web. So right here is what you have been seeing, and it is a food chain. So it just goes from one person to another. It's the flow of energy from one organism to another as food. So the flower gets eaten by this bug, and the bug gets eaten by the fish, and the fish gets eaten by the whale or the bigger fish, and the bigger fish gets eaten by this bird, and then it all starts back over again. In the food web, it's a network of food chains in which energy is passed from one living organism to another. So all of these animals first start getting their energy off from the grass. So the grasshopper eats it, and the rabbit eats it, and the mouse eats it. But then we have this grasshopper. And the grasshopper gets eaten by this kookaburra way up here. But then there's this snake in the same place, and it gets eaten also by the kookaburra and the eagle. And then we have the bunny, and the bunny gets eaten by the snake. And then we have a mouse. The mouse gets eaten by the kookaburra. So all organisms might eat different things and a variety of things. That kookaburra, it ate the snake, it ate the grasshopper, it ate the mouse, it ate all of these things, but then it got eaten by the eagle. So food webs are kind of like a bunch of food chains put together. So let me show you how we create a food web. So what I like to do is I like to think of different food chains that could possibly go together and then just mush it all up. So let me get out a piece of paper. So I'm going to start off my food chain with one producer. You could have more than one producer, but I'm going to do one because it would be the easiest. And I'm going to do grass. So this is my producer. It starts off with one thing, and I'm going to start off with just one food chain. So this is my producer. So now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do a little mouse. And again, guys, I can't draw to save my life. So I'm going to do my best. I think that's a little mouse tail. And then I'm going to give him little ears and a little mouth, little feet. So this is my mouse. That mouse eats the grass. So that would make him my primary consumer. Now, that grass is also going to be eaten by a bunny. So I'm going to make a larger animal. And this bunny is also a primary consumer because it also ate the grass. Now I'm going to think, what else could eat the grass? Is there anything else? And I think, yes, there is. A nice little grasshopper, which is going to be lucky if I can draw it. A nice little grasshopper ate the grass too. So he is also a primary consumer. Well, now I'm going to think, now that I have my primary consumers done, what could eat these things? So I know a mouse most of the time could get eaten by a snake. A bunny could also get eaten by a snake. So I'm going to put those together and I'm going to put them in a group with, I'm going to say the mouse and the bunny, they got eaten by, if I could find my brown marker. Here we go. They got eaten by a nice big snake. So both the mouse and the bunny got eaten. I'm trying to make him a tongue. By a snake. And that is a secondary consumer. So what could have eaten the grasshopper? Let's put it over here. What could have eaten the grasshopper? Well, maybe a bird. And you guys know, again, I'm horrible at drawing. So I'm just going to do my best, and I'm going to put wings on him. So you can tell it's at least a bird. So I'm just going to make this. This bird is in midair with a tiny little head. But the grasshopper got eaten by this bird. Well, this bird is also a secondary consumer. So what could eat both? And I'm going to try to do both because I want to just make one come up to the top because I like it. What could eat both the bird and the snake? I am going to say it has to be something realistic. So I'm going to say a hawk. And I'm going to make a big old hawk. A mean hawk. This hawk ate both the bird, because hawks eat like smaller birds. Crazy, right? But hawk ate both the bird and the snake. He is also a secondary consumer. Actually, he's actually called a tertiary consumer, but we're going to leave it a secondary consumer. All right, so we know that the sun starts off all of this. So we're going to draw our sun. And we know that down here, I'm going to draw a couple of mushrooms because mushrooms are fungi. And eventually, all of these things, I'm just going to put fungi. Mushrooms are decomposers. So they will eventually, all of these things will eventually die. Well, the hawk will for sure, and be decomposed. So, like you've seen my food chains, one food chain would be grass, bunny, snake, hawk. Right? I'm going to put grass in here. Grass, bunny, snake, hawk. Or grass, grasshopper, bird, hawk. Or grass, mouse, snake, hawk. A food web is when you take all of those food chains and you put them all together in one big web of craziness. So today and tomorrow, you are going to be doing the same thing. And again, it is going to be a food web. So I'm going to give you 2 days to do this. I'm not going to let you submit it today. So there is no submission down below. You're going to submit it tomorrow. Again, it'll be the same video. It'll be the same lesson, everything, but you're going to be given 2 days on Canvas to do it because let's face it, food webs are a lot more in detail than food chains are. So today, I want you to come up with what your producer is and come up with at least 2 primary consumers so that tomorrow you can do your secondary consumers and your decomposer. So you're going to come up with a producer. You'll need at least 2 primary consumers, maybe a couple of secondary consumers, or just one, but you have to have more than one food chain put all together into a crazy food web, just like I have done. Yes, it has to be in color, and yes, you have to label what the animal is and what it is. So I labeled mouse and primary consumer. You have to label grasshopper, mouse, bunny, and you also have to tell me if it is a consumer or a producer. All right, so you have today and you have tomorrow. Again, there's no submission down below, and I will not open it for a submission until tomorrow. So tomorrow, you can submit your food web completely finished, and I need to be able to tell there are at least 2 food chains in there. So start off with something like a grass or flower or anything. Come up with 2 producers, maybe a couple, 1, 2, or 3 secondary consumers, and a decomposer. And make sure you draw that sun on there because everything gets energy from the sun. All right, guys, I love y'all so much. I hope you have fun making your food web. If you need help, just go ahead and take a screenshot right now of my food web, and you can use it for reference later on. Love you.